What's up YouTube, Webbers5 here, coming at you today with just a bit of a info burst for you guys. So for those who follow my channel and are a big fan of playing Pendulum, how many of you guys have been playing Pendulum this format but you're kind of struggling a little bit with the meta? Probably quite a few of us. I myself have also been struggling with the meta as well. However, I recently was looking through some of my stuff, and one of my friends pointed out a card in my binder. He took a look at it and was like, you know, this actually could be really good, this format. I read it through, so I read through the effect, thought about what the meta's like at the moment, and I'm like, yeah, this card is legit actually pretty good, this format right now. And it's a Pendulum monster. So for those who don't know what I'm talking about, the card I found is Antihuman Intelligence Messiah. You remember, you know, that Pendulum that came out in Dawn of Majesty. People saw it, it's like, cool, it's a pendulum macro. Interesting. Kind of meh. Now, it's actually really good. Right now, I actually think this card is really good. And let me explain more. So, for those who don't know what it is, the pendulum effect states any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, except monster cards. So you guys are probably thinking, okay, so it's a defissure for spells and traps. How is that good right now? Let me explain. So I can think of three main strategies in the meta right now in which this card is really good. The first one is Voiceless Voice. So this card against the Voiceless Voice strategy, since spells and traps that would go to grave get banished instead, against Voiceless Voice, this stops Saphira in hand from being able to pay cost because since spells and traps can no longer go to grave, you can't pay the cost of Saphira to mill a ritual spell to send itself get your search. They can't do that because they can't pay cost, which therefore removes the useful graveyard effect of Saphira. And then the other really good thing that it stops in Voiceless Voice is the Cerebus Dragon Lord, which naturally can just special summon itself by shuffling back 2 spell cards, including a ritual spell, which gives them that good amount of recovery. Because naturally, if they don't have this means they aren't even going to have spells in their grave. So that strategy just doesn't. So no Saphira to just easily set up, and no Dragon Lords for their easy recovery. They're just going to run out of resources, and you'll win easily. The next one in the meta that's also pretty decent with Snake Eye. For those wondering, is it really that good against Snake Eye? It can be. Yeah, yes, it doesn't stop the effect of the spells on the field, but it stops all the good graveyard effects that the Sinful Swirls cards have. So most of the Sinful Swirls have the effect of like banish itself to do something really good, which is probably the effects that most people get more worried about. So this will stop their ability to do that. For those wondering, don't they have a card that just lets them add back the banished stuff? They do. However, that card itself has to be banished from the grave to do it. So if it never hit the grave in the first place, again, they just can't do it. So yeah, another way of stopping them. And then the other thing within the meta, which, I mean, I say it's in the meta, it kind of still just kind of comes in and out depending on strategies. Runic. Runic's still around. This card, naturally, you do this going against Runic, you're just gonna, they are not going to even have any Runic spells in their grave to be able to recover, which means they won't have the hand for it, which means they're not going to have a hand to be able to disrupt you too much. And pretty much the extent of what this thing is going to do against Runic is force them to go Runic Tip, add Runic Destruction, use Runic Destruction, attempt to get rid of this. But naturally, for those who are watching my channel, you're probably in an Endymion strategy, which is why you're checking out this video. So naturally, you know what the easy thing you're going to do is. Once you've set this up, you've got the Mighty Master. Once they go Runic Tip to search, you're like, okay, that's fine. Add Runic Destruction, banish the top card of your deck, and then the Runic Tip gets banished. Once they naturally just attempt the Runic Destruction to pop it, then you just go Chain Mighty Master, negate, destroy, and then because of this, overrides its mechanic, it gets banished. No. So, those are essentially the main meta calls on why PSY is pretty good right now. As for the other things that it can do, but here's some of the other useful things it can do for the Endymion-based strategy. So, how many of you guys have been in a game, you've attempted to use the pendulum effect of Master Cerberus to search, or possibly the pendulum effect of Basilisk for those who are playing it to recover something, draw, and in response your opponent just goes, I'm just going to ash this and brick your scale. Let's be honest guys, everyone's had a Master Cerberus bricked in their scale at some point. That's another situation where this card can come in handy. PSY's monster effect can special summon can reveal itself in hand, and then you can special summon it by taking a pendulum monster either from your hand or your face-up pendulum zone and adding it into your extra deck. So basically you can use it to just unbrick your mythical beast, or if say you were going second and your opponent's been really smart to imperm one of your pendulum zones, you could potentially just go, I'm going to sack it out of my pendulum zone, special summon this card. And it's good. And its other monster effect is actually not bad, being which if another monster is summoned while it's on the field, during the end phase it's going to get sent to the grave. So it's not necessarily going to come up, but keep in mind, by doing it like this, that's also half of a Beyond the Pendulum that you've got, so you just need to add one more monster, then you can just easily summon it. And from that situation, if you really needed this for its pendulum effect, because you've just used it to make Beyond the Pendulum, you could just go, cool, pay 12, add another one of these. Easy enough. So yeah, I think this card's got a lot of good potential in this format. The only main con I can think of in the Endymion strategy that it would have is, as I said, the previously mentioned, it also overrides our thing of being able to have spells in our grave. But we don't really mind too much about that because, as I said, you're probably going to use it after your setup. And frankly, the only time we care about having spells in grave is, say, with Spell Power, is playing multiple Spell Power Masteries to get additional spell counters, and naturally Selene to gain spell counters on some. But for that, you just need like 3. After that, doesn't really matter too much. And actually the other con is if it's in your pendulum scale, for those who are on the strategy playing Magician's Souls, it will override Magician's Souls' ability of sacking off spells and traps so that you can draw cards. So, but other than that, I think this card has a lot of good potential. And one of the other reasons, guys, I wanted to point out this card for this format is I checked this out on eBay. This card is currently ridiculously cheap. So if anyone has been stuck in the position of like, I need some ideas of how to take on Voiceless Voice, Snake Eye, this is a really good card to do it, and it's really cheap right now, so it's just an idea of something to pick up for. And on that note, guys, that's all I have to say on the situation. So if anyone found this informative of good ideas of taking on the meta, leave a comment down below what you think, and also feel free to leave down your comments below on what you think are good cards to cover this format. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.